I'm Nikki Russell. I'm an innovation specialist and STEM coach at the school level, and I was previously a classroom teacher in elementary level for several years.
And together we're the co-founders of Big City Girls. I never dreamed that in 2023 I would be advocating for girls for anything. Although I am all about girls and all about girls first, except for when it comes to paying for the check at dinner. I'm perfectly fine being second. But just like the meme says, boys, boys everywhere. And this actually happened, true story. When I transitioned from classroom teacher to instructional coach, the high school engineering student said, we'll put your desk together for you. And it was the nicest particle board desk you've ever seen. And so the day that they delivered it, I looked and looked and looked, and guess what? Not one single girl in our high school engineering classes at the largest school in Hamilton County. So I was like, we have to do something about this. Why the work is important. By the start of middle school, girls from undersourced communities are more than 6,000 hours behind their peers in STEM skills. We're talking about playing with Legos, having opportunities to code with Scratch. By 2024, there will be more than 1 million computing-related jobs. The need for STEM employment has increased almost 80% in the last 40 years. And like I said, we're from Hamilton County, which is where Chattanooga is located. And one of our partners for Gig City Girls is Chaw Tech. And this is a statistic that they shared recently at one of their meetings. Women make up a majority of the population locally. We're 51.5%. But yet only 23.9% work in the IT force in Chattanooga, Tennessee. You've seen all the memes and the pictures of the woman with the like encyclopedia high stack of books and where she's coded all of this language. And so what happened? But actually in 1984, something did happen related to computer science that caused women to kind of drop out of computer science and not be as interested. Anyone have an idea? The home computer. Take a look at the advertisements for just a minute and see what you notice. With the exception of the Three's Company photo up at the top, the advertisement that's very similar to that one, all of those are what? Men. So who were they targeting for the home computer? Men, right? We're going to have to watch it now. It may not play. We had a really cute video here. Should we go on? Okay, she said wait just a second.
Discouraging people from going into fields that are going to help move this country forward, help us solve things like climate change, you're not doing a good job. And the fact is, girls, a lot of people of color don't feel welcome in the sciences.
I've been in situations where I've went into meetings and people have actually thought that I was someone's assistant. And then it's pretty funny to 20 minutes later, it's like, oh, who are you? It's like, well, I actually lead the Google LinterX Prize, which I do get a little bit of joy out of that. My advice to girls is that you can be and do whatever you want, and there's so many different areas that you can work in around this.
When I meet young girls, when I go into schools in cities, I say, you belong in the STEM fields. It's a good career. It pays good money. We need your talent. Don't you let anybody ever make you feel like you don't belong.
To go into the science field, it's been mostly driven by my passion. Once I've opened the doors, though, and reached out to science communities, I've definitely had a lot of encouragement, especially as a young person. What I want to say to women who are thinking about science is that this is something they should definitely get into. The fate of planet Earth is in their hands and something that women can definitely make a huge impact in. We need all hands on deck, and that includes a large group of women.
And yes, we do. We need all hands on deck for sure. I don't know the exact reason. I would have been in middle school at the time, so I don't even really remember it. But I do remember that home computers, it did feel like it was more targeted towards men. Legos were definitely targeted more towards boys. Robots for boys and baby dolls for girls. This is an actual picture of me in the 4th grade, and this is my daughter in 4th grade. And this is an actual memory book from when I was in the 1st grade, actually. My 1st grade teacher was Miss Scarborough, and I was in the Brownies and the Girl Scouts, and I sold 50 boxes of Girl Scout cookies that year. But the 2 careers that I had chosen in the 1st grade were nurse and teacher. I never heard about a computer scientist. I never heard about an engineer. Although one of the choices on here is scientist, another one of the choices is mother. That probably would have been my 3rd choice, I guess, if I had chosen another one for my career. Interestingly enough, things have changed a little bit. I try to talk to my daughter about all kinds of careers and tell her she can be anything she wants to be. But I will say it is hard to get girls interested in computer science, even when you're the leader of the district girls coding club. Somehow I'm missing out on getting my daughter interested in it as well. she's resisting. But it's very important to find those female role models and women who are already in that field. If you look at these statistics, you'll see the darker purple represents girls who know a woman or a female STEM leader or a person who is a female in a STEM position or STEM career. So they're going to feel more powerful while doing the STEM work. They're going to know their purpose. And they're going to understand how STEM is relevant and the jobs are possible through STEM. And just like the Chattanooga statistic, 21.8% of engineers are female. And we like to say there's lots of different kinds of engineers, not just one kind of engineer. And while Legos have always been more targeted towards boys, this is actually one of their ads from the 70s. And for those of you in the back, I'll read it to you. It says, the urge to create is equally strong in all children, boys and girls. It's imagination that counts, not skill. You build whatever comes into your head the way you want it. A bed or a truck, a dollhouse or a spaceship. A lot of boys like dollhouses. They're more human than spaceships. A lot of girls prefer spaceships. They're more exciting than dollhouses. The most important thing is to put the right material in their hands and let them create whatever appeals to them. And I would agree with that today. And so, like I told you the story about my nice desk that I got when I transitioned from classroom teacher to instructional coach, this was the outcome. I got a $750 grant from Junior League, and I stayed after school with these girls for a whole semester. And I have to tell you that, like, on the very first day, they made me cry. And not because of they were not mean, but they said, we've never gotten to stay after school before, because they were not cheerleaders, they weren't in the band, they weren't athletes, so they had never stayed after school before, and they were in middle school. And so thus, Gig City Girls was born, and Nikki came along, and I'll let Nikki pick up from there and tell you her side of how she became involved with Gig City Girls.
Okay, so, and to back what Michelle's saying, a lot of times we get, why do we not have a Gig City Boys? And that is something that we're kind of exploring an idea of. But obviously, with Gig City Girls, we wanted to make sure that we were giving the exposure to the females in our county, and it's kind of went statewide as well. But we know that 25% of all STEM jobs in the world are held by women. So that means 75% are held by men. Of that 25%, only 7% are held of women of color. So this is an opportunity for us to give exposure, opportunities for them to understand all of the careers. So that's the why behind we named it and went with Gig City Girls. So we were fortunate to partner with Public Education Foundation in Chattanooga and present our idea for Teacherpreneur. Michelle reached out, and she was high school at the time, and said, hey, I want to do this. What do you think? Would you be willing to partner with me? And I have expertise in elementary, so I said, of course. So we worked for months and months with lots of different organizations to come up with a pitch. We pitched our idea and received funding from Teacherpreneur back in 2017. We started out with 3 clubs once we received some funding for our kickoff, and it all started there. We were on a roll before COVID, and then COVID kind of, was COVID. And then we're now starting back again. But we do have about 37 clubs in Hamilton County, and we do have those in elementary, middle, and high school. Anyone can lead a club. You do not have to have expertise in STEM or computer science. You just have to have a passion for exposing girls to all of the opportunities that are out there. When you think about what you wanted to be, just like Michelle shared, when you were growing up, you are what you see. Right? So I was before or at the very beginning of the internet, right? So I only saw what was in my community: doctors, nurses, veterinarians, maybe people at the grocery store, places that you go, police, fire, those types of things. We weren't exposed to engineering or exposed to computer science. And then as that came about, now we have the internet to show all of the opportunities and all of those. So in our clubs, anyone can lead a club. We give you all the curriculum, all of the what we call a window pane. It gives an activity on one side where we're trying to give them exposure to different coding sites, STEM sites. We do let the girls track their coding hours, and then we have a coder of the month, and that way they can win a prize or get some extra time with their leader in their school. And then on the other side, every month we want the girls to research a STEM career. So we may give them a little taste of what that's like at the beginning of our club meeting, and then have them research how much schooling does it take, what kind of salary do they make, what areas do they have. This is not to push every girl into a computer science role, but we all know that if you don't try it, you don't know if you like it or if you don't. So you can dabble in computer science and coding and say, I don't really want to be the website designer, but I really like the functionality of doing the graphics, or I really like art. How can I put art and computer science together? It's all about exposure. It's not necessary. It's to help them find out what they like. So during this time, that's when they can come and explore. The sponsors actually choose what days. So we don't have a required time. They can meet once a week, once a month, twice a week for an hour. It's really whatever the lead sponsor wants to do. And then we do have a website. We are currently, you're looking at the marketing and the website and the logistics and the
Fundraising.
COO and the fundraising and the materials. This is the two-woman team right here, right? So we do have a website. We're working on partnering and getting that up to date, but we've listed some of our partnerships and some of the events. After our first year, we did have our largest female coding event in Chattanooga, where we had lots of female entrepreneurs come out. We had different organizations. We had STEM activities. We had prizes where they actually got to have their female friends. You could have your mother, your grandmother, your aunt. We held it on Mother's Day weekend and had a huge celebration with over 500 women and girls that all did coding and STEM on that morning. So you can check that out on our website as well. And then here's just a little trajectory of how how it all started. We were 2016 at one club, and then over the years we've more than doubled, and we have so much interest that we now have some meetings for some partnerships to help us push it out statewide. We've presented at FETC, national level, and state level, and had lots of interest, and we're willing to share all of our resources, all of our materials, and have a Gig City Girl in your area as well. But these are some of the sponsorships. EPB and Little Debbie provides our snacks in the afternoons. So it's just about using your community partners or businesses around your area to kind of sponsor what you're doing and how you're doing it. And those were some of ours. We do hold teacher trainings and resource sessions for how do you actually code? What are these robots? A lot of times it's the process over the product, right? So when you're really transparent and you let the girls say, hey, I don't really know how this robot works. Can y'all think you can help me figure it out and set it up? Right? They will take it and run with it, and then actually you're learning alongside them, and there's a lot of value in kind of bridging that divide with not being scared about it, not thinking I'm going to tear it up. How do we read the directions? How do we hook it to the internet to let them see that females can also do that as well? Our after school club meetings, again, are just at the sponsor's request and what's best for the school. We do ask that at minimum you meet about once or twice a month, and that way you cover enough careers and content before the end of the school year. We do have a Lego League robotics team that one of the clubs took over. We have an electric car that we build with the Green Pre. One of our schools actually has an all-girls Gig City Girl car, so it can kind of go into whatever area that the students and the sponsors are interested. But here's just a few snap pictures that we've, there's our car that we built. We actually assembled it and we raced it against all other schools. So it can really just be anything that's of interest of the school. We also partner with engineering days at our local colleges. We have University of Tennessee at Chattanooga and Chattanooga State Community College. We've taken them out of state and went to UAB for engineering days. And again, it's just kind of to foster that exposure and opportunity.
And I don't know if you noticed this year, but it seemed like in March there was a much more celebration of Women's History Month. I don't know if anybody else noticed that. But in Hamilton County, we actually had two big events. One was with, we partnered with Blue Sky, and we had an all-girls event at the Edney downtown. The girls coded with microbits that day, and it was, like I say, all girls. And then here's some of their products that they made. They made futuristic pets, futuristic music, and futuristic jewelry, all with microbits. And I think they actually also used some makey-makeys as well. And then also in March, we had STEM for Her, and this was a partnership that we had with Chaw Tech. And we're hoping to make this an annual event. And it was held at UTC at the University Center, and we had a lot of girls there. We gave away, I think, 300 door prizes, 300 goodie bags, so that was about how many girls we had. And this, some of the highlights from that. And actually, of all the fields, the engineering fields, agriculture is the one with the lowest proportion of women. It's at 14%. And so I have a new partner with UTC. They received a USDA grant, and they're piloting it this summer. It's ANGELS, and it stands for, I forget the acronym, but it's Agriculture and Nutrition for Girls. I can't remember what that, but ANGELS is an acronym for that. I can't remember it right off the top of my head, actually. But those girls are going to meet this summer for 6 weeks. For a camp, and they're going to learn about food and food deserts and farming and all kinds of things. Did you notice that the Super Bowl, they had an all-female? Did anybody notice that? The Blue Angels this year?
And so we're going to talk about a couple of the resources. We do provide a kit if we have funding, because we know some schools do not have some of the STEM resources or the computer science resources. So Michelle and I try to get funding to give every sponsor a kit that they can use with the Gig City Girls and they can use in their classrooms. Here are some of those different ones. We have some books that we always put in there. We have the Violet, where they can do we want to make sure that they're seeing that scientists and engineers and computer scientists look like them, right? When you think of a scientist, you think of normally a white-haired Caucasian male with a lab coat. That's kind of the old visual, so we're trying to change that narrative and let them know that that can be them. We also have our window panes. We have Ozobots and Dash and Dots. We have tons of the Mad Learning that we put into our kits. We do try to customize those if we know our sponsors say, hey, we really need something for robotics, or hey, we really need something for some Legos. Then we try to include those in our kits as well. We do Amazon Future Engineering Boot Up Camp. We partner with them. We've been a partner for about 3 years in Hamilton County Schools. So we try to send elementary, middle, and high school level. We've been focusing on elementary primarily right now, but then they can go and have professional development in Scratch and Scratch Junior to create activities, and then they can actually take those activities back to the Gig City Girls Clubs and actually do the activities with them after school. Learning Blade is another fantastic resource that gives STEM fields and STEM careers. I believe Josh is actually here at one of the booths upstairs, and it's a free resource that they provide for Hamilton County because they're based in Chattanooga, and it actually lets them create and do all of the modules to see what careers they'd be interested in and different activities. Fun fact, the Gig City Girls from 2017 were actually approached to draw and write about their experience in Gig City Girls, and we're partnered to write a book about STEM and STEM fields and girls in STEM and women in STEM. So we have those up here. And then they've now started a series, and that was all based on some of the girls that we had in our clubs. All right, so you've heard a lot about computer science, and I believe we're going to continue to hear lots more about computer science, right? So here's an unplugged activity that you could do. It's tweet out your initials in binary code. So we know that binary code is what the language that computers read to communicate. So you can actually tweet this out, and we normally draw door prizes and send those to you and retweet it on our page. So if you'd like to be a part of that challenge, then you could tweet out your binary code, your initials. And then while you're looking at the chart and snap a picture if you like, we want you to know that we have up here, we have tons of our examples of our window panes, some of the activities that we do. We do code.org, Scratch, Scratch Junior. We do not have a necessarily partnership with any of them. We just use what's free and what makes sense for our clubs. So any of those we use in our after school clubs as well. We do have some t-shirts today, so if you want to come up. Here are the books that we mentioned, that the girls, the everyday superheroes. So if you wanted to expose your girls to STEM fields and not just be on a computer, these are two great options. This one is Everyday Superheroes that highlights everyone in the fields, and then STEM Gems has one person that it highlights in all of the areas of STEM. So some of our sponsors will actually start their meetings by reading about one of them and actually exposing them to segue into the window panes. Or you can find lots of videos online about particular women in STEM fields as well.
And this was actually an activity we did while I was at East Hamilton. The girls used a sublimation printer and Google Drawings to create a female STEM leader. And then we actually tweeted it out to that person. And the girls loved it because we actually got a response from that person. So sometimes it's good to focus on people who are still alive and contributing and interact with them on social media. Anytime
you have anybody that's a community partner in your area, having them come and speak to the girls and having them actually be able to ask questions. We have a few in Chattanooga, just like every other city. We've had the first African-American female that ever graduated from UTC come and speak. We've had the first female that is over one of the waste management departments of the city of Chattanooga. She came over and spoke as well. So anytime you can reach out and have someone come, that is very valuable, because then they just ask questions about how they got there, what challenges they faced, and it makes a connection for them right there in their own city. So this is a great website. If you want to jump over to it and do it now, you're welcome to, or you can take a photo, but it's basically, what kind of engineer are you? You can take a few, it's not very long, and ask a few prompts and has a few photos, and it will spit out and tell you what your engineering field might be based on your interest. And if you'd like, you can also tweet this out. We are on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and then you can put what your engineering type would be. Sometimes it's very surprising to see, and then if you do it a few years later, it might change, right, depending on what you're exposed to. But this is also something that you could use with your colleagues at any professional development or at the district level. And then you can also do this with the girls if you need a starting point because they're not really sure what they're interested in. Here are just some great articles and some memes and some posts. We're obviously getting more girls interested in STEM, and you're starting to see that rise, which we obviously enjoy, and we love that empowerment. But here's a little question for you. Which of these were invented by a woman? So you've got several photos. Which ones were invented by a woman? You can yell them out. Chocolate chip cookies? All of them? Any other guesses? Yes, you are correct.
All of them.
All of them. So there was lots of contributions to society and that may or may not have been known about. You don't really know the people that are behind that, but they are women, right? And then there she is. Ruth Wakeford, and she invented the cookie. Did you know that? But if I asked you who invented the iPhone, could you tell me? Who invented the first computer, right? So we want to make sure that we're able to do that for women as well. Here's your next trivia question. In 1790, the first patent was issued to Samuel Hopkins. What year was the first patent issued to a female? You can yell out your answer.
Everybody wants to say B. I believe it's C.
It's C.
So it wasn't too long after the man.
It's almost 20 years later, finally, right? Finally. And science is not a boys' game. It's not a girls' game. It's everyone's game. It's about where we are and where we are going. So it's not that we don't like boys and we don't like men. We obviously do, right? But we just want to even that playing field for girls and just if you think about how school works, a girl is most likely not going to sign up for the middle school class when she walks in and it's all boys. If you go into most engineering schools, you predominantly see Caucasian males, right? We know that exposure in elementary and in middle can change that. It can give them the confidence to know that they have the skills and that they're able to compete or just be in the room, right? It takes everyone all the time. So making sure that we're giving them that confidence and exposure to it is the whole mission and point. It's not that we do not promote males and men. We're just trying to help them out, the girls. Here is our Join the Mission. This is our rebranding link. If you'd like to check out, you can sign up today. We're obviously open to having clubs all across Tennessee. So if you're interested in being a sponsor for Gig City Girls or would just like some more information about how you could have it in your city, please reach out. We'd love to get in touch with you. All right, so we've been talking for a minute. Is there anyone that has any questions that you'd like to ask? It can be logistics. It can be any kind of question. Yes, ma'am. I'm going to let you do this because we have virtual friends that
Okay, your program's phenomenal. Thanks for what you're doing. I'm wondering, though, out of all the school districts we have represented in the room, it's how many have certified computer science teachers or STEM teachers in the elementary? Do we have any? We have a new okay, certified?
I'm going through the program now, so
So your county pays for certified teachers in computer science?
we don't pay for it, but we have
Okay.
certification options.
But we don't have paid certified, okay. Okay, so we know that that's where our girls need to develop their aptitudes and their confidence. So as our new education commissioner comes in, I'm wondering if all of us would email her and let her know on a weekly basis that our girls need that, and maybe we could get those positions served in our elementaries.
Yes. I would say yes.
And we can say for sure that the exiting Commissioner of Education, she has her very own Gig City Girls T-shirt.
And we know that with all the computer science mandate, right. So we know with the computer science mandate that's starting in '24, I know that TSIN and the state are working to get not only everyone able to teach computer science, but we know it's going to be mandated in middle school and high school as a required course. And then in elementary, it has to be integrated into subjects. If you teach elementary, everything's integrated. So how we are able to do that, right? Like how are we going to be able to actually execute? And that is a great point, is we just don't have the certified people to actually teach it and the funding. So I think that's something that's going to have to come down, is that you're going to have allocations in your budget to be able to offer positions for computer science. In our county, we're able to pay our sponsor leaders through ESSER funding and through private donations. So we do offer a stipend for our club leaders that does vary year to year depending on what we're allocated from the district and from our funding. We've raised roughly $50,000 between Michelle and I, and just going and asking to be able to offer that, because we feel like you should be compensated for your time and your dedication. But that is a very valid point. I'm hoping that the state's going to respond to that, as well as districts, to give compensation and to pay for them. Right, if they're not able to stay after school, meaning allocation for an actual computer science course and a class during the schedule during the day. And then if you're not aware, TSIN does have a program that you can sign up for to get your endorsement on your license for computer science. I know that it has a long wait list, so if you're interested in doing that, that would give you an endorsement to teach computer science. And then if you're in middle and high school, then maybe you could be in that position, and then maybe have a Gig City Girls Club or a club similar to it that you could offer during the day as well. Great question or comment. So yes, please, please, please email. Any other questions? All right, well, be sure to tweet out your binary code and your initials. Be sure to reach out to us on our website if you like. You're welcome to come and check out and snap photos of all of the resource samples. And then if you would like to promote Gig City Girls, we have some t-shirts that we'd love for you to wear. Please let us know. You can visit our website if we can help you in any way. Thank you so much for today.
Yeah, we've got stickers and shirts up here. We just ask if you'll follow us on Twitter, Facebook. If you'll do that, and then you're welcome to a T-shirt.